Welcome to Brainstorm, the Braintopia podcast, hosted by Sandra Hooper-Murcott, founder of Braintopia Neurofeedback Centers. With locations across the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Braintopia helps children, teens, and adults improve brain function through advanced neurofeedback brain training. On this podcast, we explore the science of brain health and real-world solutions for symptoms linked to anxiety, ADHD, sleep challenges, emotional regulation, and cognitive performance. This is Brainstorm, where understanding your brain is the first step toward lasting change.
Real stories speak louder than data. Today, we're sharing powerful transformations that show what's possible when the brain learns to self-regulate. Welcome, everyone. I'm Chelsea Earlywine, co-host and producer here in the studio with Sandra Hooper-Murcott, founder of Braintopia Neurofeedback Centers. Sandra, how's it going today?
Great. Good to see you.
You too. Well, I'm excited to dive into this one. Your listeners are ready to hear some real stories about your clients that have seen vast improvements with Braintopia. So let's start there, Sandra. I'll let you take it away.
Sure. This is my favorite thing to talk about because we love people's stories to lead the way in just letting people know about what we do. So there's really three major stories that I want to tell. The first is going to be about a 15-year-old female, and she had come in. She was a gymnast by nature, and she had come in and had evidence of concussion. She didn't know she had evidence of concussion, though, until we did her brain map. So what she was presenting as is out of the blue at school, she just started having fainting spells. And then they turned into more seizure like activity. Went to a neurologist, went to ERs, went to all of the doctors. The neurologist did all kinds of workups and worked with everything that they could with her, and eventually sent her over to us, which was pretty amazing. They had tried medicine and all this. She wasn't responding and came to us. And at first, once we did the brain map, she had a really interesting finding on her brain map that basically were like two yellow circles, red yellow circles in the front of her head. And so we were able to talk about what had happened. Well, she was doing a vault and her knees literally went up and hit her forehead. And those two marks that showed up in the map were evidence of injury. And so from there, we were able to work our protocol and get her brain to stop responding in her central nervous system. Just every time it was taking in certain stimuli would have these seizure like activities, but they weren't responding to the seizure medicine because they were based on injury more so than electrical seizure activity. So within 30 sessions, what happened first is she was having 5 or 6 episodes a day at school. Would have the nurse come and get her. That started to slow down into maybe one a day and then maybe one a week. And now she has, I checked in with her mom recently, and she hadn't had one in months. And so it was phenomenal to see. So that's probably one of our most, you know, aha moment transformations.
That is absolutely incredible. Wow. So, Sandra, can you explain what was going on in the brain for her when you got into the brain mapping? What was happening there with those yellow spots that you were able to adjust through the neurofeedback?
So those were areas, what we call areas of dysregulation. So dysregulation happens when there's injury or some kind of disruptor. So whether that is inflammation, whether that is injury that is causing inflammation, there's food sensitivity, all kinds of stuff. We've talked about that in the past, kind of the disruptors. But what in her specific case, that when the brain waves would get to those areas because of the disruptor of the injury, they would speed up really fast. And then her central nervous system was just overwhelmed and would have this kind of response, just like anything else would if it's like a power surge. Right. And so, but because it was injury based and not necessarily electrical system based, which is more what, seizures can be sometimes, that is why she wasn't responding to the meds, which is why the neurologist sent her to us. So that was a huge win for us because we love neurologists and we love for them to believe in what we do. So we just love telling that story.
Wow, that is absolutely fascinating. Thank you for sharing that. And you said you've got two more stories. What's the next one?
So the next one is about our youngest client that we ever had. So a lot of people will ask, well, or do you work with kids? Do you work with kids under age 12? And I said, oh, yes, we definitely do. Our youngest client is someone near and dear to my heart. It's actually my niece, and she started with us before she was even 2 years old. And I applaud my brother and sister-in-law so much, for trusting the process and trusting us with their, most precious asset. And it goes back to the once I tell you her story, it's gonna go back to the whole fact of, like, if I trust this enough to do it on the people I love most, then I trust to do this with anyone. And she was having some issues. She was hitting her head. She was not, being able to communicate. Her language had not come yet. We don't know why exactly, whether it was some food sensitivities or, we don't know what the core was, but we knew that she was really struggling. And so we started her on neurofeedback. We put her in a high chair and give her snacks to eat and let her watch Coco Melon. That's really all she was doing. She wasn't making eye contact with people. She would only really interact with her parents and her sister. We'd go to meals and she would everything was so overwhelming for her. She'd just watch a screen. That's all we could get her to do. And now this child is the most amazing. I mean, she always was amazing, but she is the most amazing 4.5-year-old who talks your ear off and just is phenomenal. So within 10 sessions, she was counting 1 to 10. And then just that language started coming. It was all there. We needed to work through inflammation and work through that emotional regulation that was leading her to not be able to open up those pathways. And so that's a great story that I tell anyone. The sooner we get our kids in here, the better they have a chance of getting better or improving much much faster.
Oh, wow, that's incredible. So those 10 sessions, how many weeks or months was that over the span of
So
time?
typically we ask people to come twice a week, but if there is something more severe, then we'll have them come more often. But for my little niece, I think she was coming twice a week. And they just were super consistent with it and just bought into the process, and we're so grateful that they did. And I think she's one of we're going on a TV show at the end of the month, and I'm taking her with me because she's that much of a success story, to just show that, there were diagnoses that were going to come unnecessarily, and just because no one knew what to do to help her. And this just really opened everything up for her, and we're so ecstatic.
That is a really great success story. I would imagine that some people are hesitant to bring children thinking, well, maybe we have to wait till the brain is fully developed and hit this specific milestone in life before we could start doing this. But that's clearly not the case.
Absolutely. So the frontal lobe of the brain is not fully developed till 25. So you can imagine if we're waiting for that to happen, we're waiting a long time. And then you have metabolics and you have all kinds of other things, trauma that could come with everything. And so no, the earlier you get them in, this is so safe. This modality is so safe that we are confident in saying that getting them in early is the best possible situation.
Oh, wow. That is a great success story with your niece. So, Sandra, what's the third story?
The third is gonna be my own story, and I like to share this because it's a recent story, and I think it's important to share. So, sometimes when you are the owner of a company, you wanna come across as like, everything's great and everything's great all the time. Well, that's not life. And so just recently, within the last couple weeks, for those of you who aren't in Dallas, we had a really big ice storm, a couple weeks ago, and it really was a huge disruptor for everything. And, since then, I was struggling with panic attacks myself, and it's
Mm.
not something that I had struggled with prior, but it was just something that had come about. And I really get to feel what the clients are feeling to go through this. So just last night, felt one was coming on and called our clinical director and said, "Angela, what do I do?" And she walked me through. Of course, I knew what to do, but in that moment, you
Yeah,
want
you're
some.
panicking. Yeah.
Right, and so hooked me up for a session. My husband helped, get the sensors hooked up, and I did a double session, so I did an hour-long, protocol, and it just calmed me. I mean, that's what neurofeedback is doing. It can't take the triggers away from us, but it calmed me into a place where I could get into logic again, because the whole thing about panic attacks is they don't make sense. They're not logical because you're panicking. And so that's what it's helped with me, is to, one, most of the time get me to not get into the stress patterns. And usually I was like the yelling mom, right? Or the yelling person that would get all upset about something. Now that manifests a little bit different because I'm able to control my emotions more. But now if that panic happens, I can roll it back. And so that's what we always want to say. And that's why I'm willing to share my stories. Everyone's susceptible to these, to anything, emotional health and mental health. Everyone has triggers and everyone has things that they struggle with. Braintopia can help. And we're just so blessed to be able to do that.
Well, thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your personal story. That's a great success. So, Sandra, with these three examples, what would you say to someone who's listening to this who is still a little bit skeptical but hopeful after hearing this?
Right. I would say, one, I share about the people in my life because, again, we would not be doing this on our own brains or the people that we love most if we didn't believe wholeheartedly it worked. So, if we're going to do this to ourselves, give yourself the benefit of trying something new. Everything was new at one point, right? And so, if
Yeah.
this is new to you and you're just wondering, is this the real thing? I can tell you it is because I've lived it and breathed it every day for 3 years, and I would just encourage you to check it out.
Well, thank you so much, Sandra. We appreciate you sharing those very meaningful stories. They really highlight the heart behind the work that you're doing. So, thank you so much, and we'll see everyone next time.
You've been listening to Brainstorm, the Braintopia podcast. If you or someone you love is struggling with symptoms associated with anxiety, ADHD, sleep issues, or focus challenges, Neurofeedback may offer a safe, non-invasive path forward. To learn more about Braintopia Neurofeedback Centers and our locations across the Dallas-Fort Worth area, visit braintopiacenters.com or call 972-640-7022. That's braintopiacenters.com or 972-640-7022. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.